Welcome to the office. This is Lagos Talks 91.3, 27 minutes now past the hour of 4. And today on the office, just like every other Thursday at 4:30 p.m., we speak with HR experts and professionals, and we talk about the corporate world and discuss the workforce, recruitment, promotions, and other workplace-related issues. And of course, solutions, not just issues, but we proffer solutions and give experts HR advice to help business owners and organizations scale up their HR best practices. And this is done in partnership with CIPM. That is the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. My name is Michelle Ago, and today we have a special guest who is joining us. She is a certified behavioral consultant, an agile cultural architect, a certified management trainer, and experienced HR professional with a wide range of exposure in IT, media, consulting, and not-for-profit sectors. Now, the creator of Culture Agility Framework and a sought-after speaker on culture and organizational agility. She has spoken on several platforms, including the Nigerian IT Professionals in Canadian Group. She's also spoken at the Agile 20 Reflect Global Festival 2020, Women in Agile Africa 2022, a co-innovation center, among several others. Now, with a cumulative work experience of about 20 years, her consulting experience has spanned across real estate, logistics, advertising, outsourcing domains, and amongst others. She had functioned on audit teams, effecting HR audits for both multinationals as well as indigenous organizations in Nigeria, ascertaining the viability of their HR processes and, of course, practices against best practices, professional criteria and compliance, etc. She is a teacher at her core. She is a member of the faculty of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Nigeria, as well as several management consulting firms. She's a digital buff, an author, a prolific writer of several published works, including some 80+ articles on themes as HR, workplace culture, growth mindset, digital agility, transformational leadership, quality service delivery, governance, nation building, among several others. Her papers on agile culture have been published in the CIPM journals in 2020 and 2021. Now, she is the lead consultant at Olive and Pearce, a culture transformation and learning company where she assists her clients through speaking, training, facilitating, consulting, and guess what? Coaching as well. Now, she is none other than Madam Olufunke Adio. She's an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. Welcome to the conversation. Good evening. It's nice to meet you.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. I mean, you bring so much experience, and I cannot wait to learn from you today on today's topic. I'm super excited that you could join us today on the office. All right, let's introduce what our guests can learn from us today. We'll be talking about the workplace culture and what you should know about the workplace culture. Remember, the workplace is different from your home, and there's some cultural expectations that you must live up to, or you must hope to embrace when you get into the workforce. Now, while we speak to our guest for today, Madam Olufunke Adio, be encouraged to join the conversation. If you have any question about the workplace culture or all of the questions that I'll be asking her today, you can do so by calling the phone lines 0809 234-5913, 0809-191-3913, or 0809-222-0913. You can also tweet at Lagos Talks 913. You can use the hashtag The Office. All right, so let's talk about the workplace culture and the things you should know. But first of all, what does workplace culture truly mean? What does it mean?
Okay, the best way I think I would describe workplace culture would be a set of unwritten norms, mindsets, beliefs, behaviors, practices that a workplace, they imbibe, they exude, they follow more or less.
Yeah.
Nothing particularly written anywhere, but they have that collective mindset and values around certain belief systems. Depending on where you're looking to, there are a number of models out there, a lot really.
Okay.
But looking at the diverse types of models we have, for me, I think something that cuts across would be 4 types, if I want to just sort of crystallize them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's either a culture is described as being hierarchical or flat, or perhaps it has equality.
Okay.
If you're not describing it in those terms, you are saying perhaps it is individualistic, okay, or it is collective, you know, in terms of norms. You could also describe a culture in terms of flexibility or stability, okay? And then you could say a culture could be performance-driven or not performance-driven. Whichever way you look at it, what is important really is that a culture should be responsive, all right? And each of all of these domains, you would find that they have implications, for example, the type of leadership that is in the business, the type of communication that is going on within the business, the type of layout, for example, the way the office is designed, it could be casual or not. You have some office spaces that are cubicled, you know, you have each space, each person sort of separated from the other. Some others have open offices and stuff. And then also you could see that it would have implication on the dress code. You know, some people, when you get into some businesses, you have this formal dress code, yes? Yeah. Others could be very informal and casual. You see the way the tech is structured and stuff. So, you know, a number of ways you could look at culture. But for me, ultimately, I feel responsiveness is what is important to environmental stimuli, to what is going on all around. Yeah.
When you say responsive, why is that so important? Why should a culture be responsive? And to what goal should that culture hope to achieve for an organization?
That's a very powerful question, Michelle. I love it. So when you look around, I feel it makes sense for every business to be responsive to external conditions. And so the biggest example I can give is what is going on now. Sort of triggered with COVID, and now tech has become such a big deal across industries, okay? Many businesses suffered during COVID because they couldn't pivot. And why so? The mindset is the reason why I have a very strong bias towards the subject of agility. Is the fact that regardless of what you've been before, in terms of what your culture has looked like, when you have come into an era that is disruptive, you absolutely have to change your posture. But guess what? Not everybody can easily, readily change posture, you see? Yeah. So that is now where the responsiveness comes from. I mean, customers are changing, customer preferences are changing, but some people struggled. They couldn't go digital. They couldn't pivot. They couldn't get on the tech train, as it were. So for me, responsiveness is key because you need to tweak certain things within the system, within the culture that will make your workforce to be extremely responsive, all right? To customer needs, to customer preferences and all of that.
Right. That's very interesting. And you used the perfect example because we all saw what happened during COVID. Lots of businesses suffered. They didn't really know what to do. The wave, COVID, the pandemic wave came without warning, and loads of companies and individuals had to adjust by going online. You know, we had Zoom. Zoom made the most money out of all applications or software out there.
Yeah.
You know, other softwares like Skype, you know, that had been in existence before then still couldn't adjust, you know, even though they were the originators of, you know, digital conversations like this. So it's interesting that you said that, but let's bring it back to the workplace now. who does define the culture of a workplace? With this example that you've given, would you say it's the management or the HR or the employees? Who is expected to think out of the box? Who is expected to create a culture that is responsive to external forces and internal growth altogether?
Another powerful question. So I see how this is an ongoing conversation, even in HR domain, where who is responsible? Is it leadership? Is it HR? Who actually has this job to fix culture? The answer to that question would be, really, is everybody's job. But guess what? Right. A whole lot lies on leadership. Leadership is a big deal. Where culture is concerned, I tell you, if leadership is not really at the driver's seat, it can be a problem. You can run into all sorts of problems. Even if HR really has all of these ideas, leadership still has to come on board. Otherwise, nothing is going to move. I've been into businesses, consulting spaces where executive directors, for example, want a culture change. But the MD CEO isn't seeing what they are seeing, you see, and so nothing gets done. So a lot really lies on leadership. Leadership is a driver. Management should really be able to define what they want to see. Again, you also see how the stage of business also comes into question here. For example, you have a startup starting anew. Clearly, the leadership has ideas. The firm is small, perhaps just 3, 4, or 5 people. The leadership already knows what they want. So it's easy for them to recruit, for example, in the lines of what they want in terms of culture. And so they can grow in that fashion. But then again, if a business has reached growth phase, or perhaps they're in a stable place, guess what? It could then be that they have no clue what's going on. They are running in different directions. And then that aha moment comes. That's when they say, oh, wow, we really need to define our culture. All right. Yeah. Then that is that moment where they now really need to begin to rework the culture. At that point, everybody should be involved, you see. Also, it often happens where at that stage of stability, they've evolved. A culture has sort of come to be. They didn't design it, but over the years, just by evolution, a culture has occurred. Because either you design your culture intentionally or not, guess what? You have a culture. So at that point, it could be that the business owners, the leadership, they say, hey, what's going on here? We don't like what we're seeing. Would like to curate our own culture. That is where the job now begins, okay? So at whatever phase of business or the history, really, the responsibilities would sort of differ in terms of who carries it. Sometimes HR may know what to do, sometimes not. But guess what? Really, HR should sort of support leadership or push leadership if leadership is also clueless as well. So everybody really has a role to play, but especially leadership.
Leadership, okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about what's going on in the Nigerian workforce, in different sectors, in the medical field, in the financial world, and many other sectors or industries in the country. We have been experiencing a brain drain. It's been going on for years, and up to recently, it's increased even more. I'm just wondering, with this level of people migrating to developed countries for greener pastures, do you believe a healthy workplace can curtail this movement? Do you think the HRs in different organizations can do anything to stop this from happening? Do you think leadership, management in a company can do anything to stop Nigerians from going abroad? Or, I mean, who really is responsible? I'm taking away the government because, I mean, well, we all know we have issues with governance in Nigeria, but bringing it down to the private sector and business owners and organizations, is there anything that truly can be done from management to HR to leadership to encourage Nigerians to stay in the country? What can be done?
So we've all come to a very difficult place, admittedly, in Nigeria, where we have all of these exits going on. All things being equal, really, a healthy culture should be a strong differentiator. It should sort of set apart one business to another. What you find is that really there are a lot of other factors that are moving people outside the country.
Okay.
You know, we have the inflation that is going off the chain. We have falling standards of living. We have security issues. We hear all the time about colleagues, you know, falling victims to armed robbery or whatever. Yeah. You know, it has become really very, very, very worrisome. All right. So you find in this instance that for the most part, people are not necessarily trying to exit organizations. They are really leaving Nigeria. You get the point.
Oh.
Because, yeah. So there are other macro factors really that comes into play. I mean, how many people, employees, can businesses provide security for? Okay, so there are certain things that are within the control of organizations, and culture is that one thing. So the thing is, your culture may be good, may be excellent, may be so really attractive, but then of course, you know, definitely as HR or a business leader, you cannot really control the external factors. So what else can we do in terms of creating a very robust structure? We want to be very deliberate. As business leaders, we want to intentionally create a culture where people would love to come to work. Recently, I came off a project, a culture project, where really the business owner was extremely passionate, looking for what next can be done to create a culture that excites. I'd never heard anything like that before up until then. Yeah. You know, when you talk about great place to work, you hear about that a lot, but I hadn't quite heard about saying I want a culture where employees will feel excited to work in, you see. Mm-hmm. So it depends on who the leadership is. It depends on who is steering the wheels. You really have to be intentional. You really have to want to do this to alleviate all of those other external factors that employees have to face on a daily, consider the Nigerian context where they live in, okay? So HR needs to do more, learn more, understand what it takes to have a culture that works, where people want to stay in. There's a bank in Nigeria now, believe it or not, they have an MD who absolutely wants to create a culture where people cannot escape from. Wow. Which is odd, because you would find banks, they have a reputation for overusing you, for a lack of better words, for a lack of better phrase. They want to get the, you know, all the out of you. Yeah. But here is this bank that is saying, absolutely, we want to create a culture here that employees would not want to escape from, would not want to leave. And guess what? They've gone all the way, you know, all the systems that they can put in place, all the reward systems, a lot of remote work options, benefits, really, that can make a difference, that can really make
more organizations should encourage initiatives like this to have more people excited to work, because I mean, if there's so many people who actually love their job and they're not necessarily thinking about leaving the country, because regardless of where they go, they would still be doing the same job because they love that career, they love that job. So even if they go abroad, they'll probably still be doing the same thing. However, they would still love to stay home. But sometimes you find that with everything happening externally with governance, some organizations still kind of frustrates their staff at the same time. So if you're frustrated at work, you're leaving work, and you know your security is compromised, or you can't find good healthcare, you might as well just quit and just give up. But if you actually love your job and you have something keeping you going, your
organization
appreciates all your efforts, would you really want to run away and put in all that
it's true.
time? So do you think it's time for, you know, organizations to actually be more sensitive to the times we're in, the brain drain we're experiencing, to look for ways to reward their staff, encourage better work culture, trainings, you know, just creates, I don't know, something. You're the expert.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Michelle. There's a whole lot that businesses can do, leadership and HR. There's a whole lot that they can do. And there's a lot of innovation really coming on, especially with specific focus to the brain drain. So you have HR saying to talent these days and saying, okay, we know you're going to Canada, yeah? But can you still stay on a, in a business? Can you work remotely? Do you know, Michelle, that certain businesses, entire departments actually leave for Canada? All departments, yeah, actually leave. So it's that time where really we need to be extremely creative and don't say, okay, you're leaving, okay, bye-bye. It's such a sad thing that you're leaving, bye-bye. No, what else can be done to keep that staff on the job, even though they're not within the geographical, the same geographical space as you? Yeah. You could still keep them, because most of these people that travel anyways, it's not like they pick up jobs immediately, you see. Yeah. So they can as well remain in the business, but they're working remotely. Right. All right. There's this particular chap who came in for an interview, and he said, really, I love my job. I absolutely love my job. But what is missing is a remote work option. Okay. Mm-hmm. And for some of us in HR who insist that it is either a way or the highway, I mean, we're going to just suffer because talent would be repelled. Okay, we will not be able to attract the type of talent that we should have. And then those who really have options would carry their bags and leave. Okay, so it's one of the big things going on today that really people are looking for remote work options to sort of just cater to part of the difficulties in major cities, especially like Lagos, where you have to be in traffic 4, 5, 6 hours. So if people can work hybrid, even 2 days, 2 days in the office, physical, and 3 days outside of the office, these are really a lot of creative angles that we can look at these days. Yeah.
All right. So what are some of the factors that impact a positive culture in the workplace? Some of the factors within an environment or an organization that, promotes a better work culture. I'm sure many of our listeners would like to learn or get some pointers as to what they can do to shake things up in their organizations.
All right, the first thing I would like to say in terms of a factor, without overflogging this, is leadership. Really, we underplay the place of leadership a lot, but we shouldn't. Leadership is that entity that models what we say is what we want to have as a culture. Okay, they need to be able to model it. They need to be able to sell the vision, because sometimes if you're used to a certain way of being, it's a way of life that you have had, and then you come into a business and say, for example, we want to rejig our culture. It will definitely mean some mindset shifts. All right, so you need to be able to sell this thing called culture and the whole idea of why it makes sense. Otherwise, guess what? People will just be moving with emotions. They are not really in it with you. Sometimes when I get into consulting spaces and you ask employees, what are your core values in this organization? Guess what? They begin to look at the ceiling and they begin to count on their fingers and what the core values are. You can tell that they haven't really imbibed it. It's just on the surface. They really don't get it. Okay, so leadership has to be able to sell that culture or concept to the organization, beginning from the entire leadership cadre. Then also your policies is very important. Okay. You need to be able to be seen, to be driving your culture through the policies that you have on ground. Your promotion, your reward system, do they really support the culture that you really want to have in place? Okay, so then of course your practices as well, you want to be sure that everything aligns. Otherwise, people will not believe you. You say you have a culture of respect, for example, maybe as a core value. Let me just say that you have respect as a core value, but you have a cadre of leadership that are not respectful, that shut their employees or their team members down. They frustrate people. There's no sense of mutual respect. There's no sense of collaboration. And it's just such a very frustrating environment where people will say to you, my word is king around here. You either shape in or you shape out. We put all of these things, yes, in our core profiles, core values. Say this is who we are. But when people join the organization, it's a culture shock. They're like, what's going on here? This isn't what I signed up for. And so you can't retain employees or you can't retain talent. All right. They walk out the door because they feel like, I have options. All right. So this has to be very intentional stuff we're talking about here.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now, on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you view the culture of Nigerian workplaces? You've worked in different sectors. IT, you name it. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you view the culture of the Nigerian workplace?
So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to put this on a scale of 1 to 5, all right? Because Nigeria is huge. Nigeria is huge with diverse organizations, multinationals, small and medium scale. It's just a huge stuff going on. But this is what I would say, based off of experience. There's a huge way or a huge sense in which our national culture sort of shows up, even in corporate settings, all right? Mm-hmm. All the norms that we have as Nigerians, we are human beings. It's just natural. We'll carry we carry around, we move around with those norms. And so, a perfect example here. I've been running a series on LinkedIn for the past couple of days, I think 4 days now, and I'm talking about the culture or core value called respect, all right? Mm-hmm. And I see instances where people are sort of giving me feedback, explaining their own stories, how a lot of things just happen in the workspace. People come into the workspace with, I'm older, so I should be respected. Hello. You hear people asking questions like, do you know my age? Yeah. So they feel like they cannot really either support or submit to someone who is younger than they are. They feel like if you're older, then it means you have more wisdom. And they bring that mindset into the corporate setting, into the work. How does that work? Everybody has value that they bring to the table, whether they are young or old or whatever. You don't come with that sense of, this is my age. And then, of course, you also see scenarios where corporate leaders, they say, I have an open door policy. No, you don't say you have an open door policy. It's the people who are beneficiaries of your accessibility that would say to you that, hey, the boss, the team lead, the MD CEO really has an open door policy because he listens, all right? Because I can say whatever I want without retribution or without consequence, okay? So really a whole lot is involved, and that is what I have seen where national cultures really affect the mindset and the orientation that we have. We bring all of that into the workplace. Oh, I'm older, so my decision should be final. Oh, it's just it's a lot. And it frustrates young folks, especially, who are keen on contributing, who would like to innovate. You're shutting them out, you're shutting them down, and you're depriving the business of the contribution, the creativity, the innovation that these young folks can actually bring to the table. Is the reason why there are a lot of issues around toxic workplaces these days. Yeah.
I think we should go to the phone lines. I'm sure my listeners have a question or two to ask. The last point is absolutely spot on. It happens everywhere, in small businesses, in large organizations. People think their age is everything. they bring their Nigerian traditions and, you know, culture into the workplace. And like you said, it deprives the organization from, you know, innovating or hearing from everybody, or giving everybody fair hearing to contribute their quota into organizational growth. We'll take a few calls, and of course we will read some messages. On the phone lines, it's 0809-1913913, 0809-222-0913, 0809-234-5913. And you can call the landline numbers as well on 01-515-0913, 01-515-1913. Lagos Talks. Hello. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, what's your name?
I'm Jay, calling from Italy.
All right, join the conversation.
Okay, I think I heard what I thought. I just joined the conversation, so I don't really have full details. But the last part I heard was that some people bringing in their age and whatever, and we think that maybe growth or innovation in maybe the organization. I think why it's actually like that because I work in an organization and I've been there for, and I know that we have young, as in Generation Z children everywhere too. Fine, a lot of them, they have fresh ideas, they are more aggressive, but sometimes you see them, I don't want to say they are being rude, or I don't want to use that word, being rude, or maybe they think they know too much, or maybe they think, the old people that, let me say the old people, they are archaic and they don't know what is happening. Sometimes they can rub it on your face, and sometimes they can be very, will I say, rude somehow. I think that's where you see maybe those people that have been on ground that have more experience, they might want to now bring in that, even if it is not supposed to be like that. It's just my own humble observation. Let me put it that way. So I think the young stars, they should also appreciate experience as well. So in as much as they are more in tune with realities now, as in this is the digital age. And so they shouldn't just rub it on the faces of maybe the old timers as if, maybe you guys are outdated. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. Yes, that's just what I feel. Right, Thank you.
Thank you. Madam, what do you have?
I really love the points that she made. Absolutely, I did. Really, the drivers as to how and why the Gen Z are sort of perceived to be behaving the way that they do behave. Guess what? One of the biggest drivers that I see is the reality that actually they have way more options than we did, our own, the older generations. So when she said, okay, that it comes across as if they're being rude or being aggressive, we need to understand that that is coming from a place where they have a whole lot of options. They have global roles that, they can access. Organizations globally, even if they're not working with organizations, they can create work for themselves. You get on YouTube, you can begin to be a production person, and then you get some livelihood from there. Digital marketing, is not just brick and mortar where you absolutely have to join some workforce, some multinational, or something, or some structured company. So we need to understand where that mindset is coming from. They believe absolutely that they have way more options than ever existed. And guess what? It's the reason why they ghost when you interview them and you think they've gotten the job, or they've accepted your offer, and you're looking for them, but they will not resume. They can ghost on you. You won't find if you're chasing them. It is that mindset that says that absolutely we have way more options existing today than it ever existed before. So yeah, but absolutely, I understand they should respect experience.
Okay.
Yes, they should respect experience. They need to learn that.
Okay.
They need to learn that.
I mean, what do you think the future holds? I mean, if we can't get Gen Z in quotes to be part of, how do I put this? To be patient, to be willing to be dedicated to the growth of an organization or a vision. How do you really, because if we all just jump out the window and feel, there's another job next door, I don't need this job, and just become flighty all the way, how do we really grow the corporate world with people who are committed to service and know the value of service. Are we not? That's at the end of the day.
I feel you and I hear you. The concerns are real and they're deeply genuine. But the truth is that human beings adapt. We would somehow find a way. We'll create systems. What is eating us in the face now is even where jobs are being automated anyways. So there would always be something. We cannot be stuck. But really, we need to just keep at it. Say to all the generations, you have to learn and then just balance things out. Don't be rigid, because you just don't know where you would find yourself. Right. Okay, and you have to be ready for whatever life throws at you.
Here's a message from Ola from Aja saying, we can't take it away from the government. The government needs to educate more Nigerians. Even the HRs are leaving Nigeria. Our HR just resigned last month and left the country. That's
wow.
Ola from Aja saying the government also has a big role to play. Making sure that the workforce in Nigeria is secured. I'm thinking if we can squeeze in one last call. If you'd like to join the conversation briefly before we go, 0809-191-3913, 0809-222-0913, 0809-234-5913. You can call the landline numbers 015150913. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I want to remain anonymous. I work with one of these government agents, security agents of the government.
Okay, go ahead.
And I listen all what you've been saying on the HR. But you know, in government, especially in the security aspect of government, there's nothing like HR.
There's nothing like HR?
There's nothing like HR. Because for me, like now, they are things that actually there are some situations you have an issue. There's nobody you directly report and your problems are solved or the issues are solved. I remember when I think I was posted after my training and some allowances were to be paid after applying and so on. It did almost like 12 years now. I've not gotten that. And nobody to tell, like, oh, even my direct boss, I won't tell her, like, oh, this is this, and she can't give you a response. They will tell you some of those things have to come from Abuja and so on. And when I work in somewhere like Lagos, how do I get to Abuja and you keep, like, going around circles and so on? I don't know when I'm this kind of person that if I get an option tomorrow to down to and travel abroad, I won't look back because it's not right. There's nothing here in terms of the insecurity we are talking about. Yeah. They will lead to your ideas or solutions you have to things like that. When you have an idea or something to bring to the table. So I tell somebody right now, I'm going on the process of getting an admission overseas, and if I get it, I tell you, I put on my resignation letter and move ahead.
Right.
Because of the no HR.
Yeah.
There's no HR. There's no HR in the security force in Nigeria. Let me just fix that.
Yeah.
That's why I remain.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wonder if that can be validated or not, but I get the crux of what he's saying. Is a service orientation culture that, again, we lack on a national level, because HR really, if it exists, is a service function and really should be catering to, issues with employees and all of that. Believe it or not, Michelle, I was in a certain business where we're consulting for, and then some of the issues that the employees were raising, I was shocked because I was like, no, it shouldn't take a consultant to come into this space for the business to know that this challenge exists. So there's HR, but they are not service inclined, you see. They're not service oriented. They don't see themselves like, we need to be solving problems, attending to issues, removing impediments, and it's sad. It's sad. HR really is first a service domain. I understand how we want to be strategic and all of that. But first and foremost, we really should take our service responsibilities extremely seriously.
All right. This is where we leave it today. I wish we could go on because we've learned so much from you, and it's really, really interesting learning from you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Madam
Thank you.
Adio, it's such a pleasure. Do you have any last words for us before you go?
Thank you, Michelle. This has been interesting. It has been fun. I love to share along these lines. I think HR should really, really love the business where they function in. Okay, they should love it to the extent that really they want to help the business succeed. Only then would they really look to culture as a source of competitive advantage, okay? Only then would they like to put in systems that can help organizations to do well. So let them really, I know love is a strong word, but yes, I mean it in the sense that you absolutely really love to see the business succeed. Then and then you can now focus on culture, all right? Yeah. So that would be my last words.
Any last words for the Gen Z?
Gen Z, oh man. I feel they really need to prepare for, not just for now. So really, all the options are before them. A lot of opportunities are available. But what happens tomorrow? You see, what happens tomorrow if you have all of these opportunities now and you are now compelled, something happens, you have to go to a structured, you now find yourself in some structured environments. What do you do? What do you do? So it's that thing where really we understand that you have a lot available to you now, but you need to also respect experience. I know experience wouldn't cut it. Ultimately, when you're in a disruptive era, you need innovation and creativity. Experience really is not everything, but there's wisdom in organizations. There's a reason why businesses have succeeded so far. You need to understand why they have succeeded so far. And then be humble with bringing your contribution to the table. Okay? That is what I would say.
Right. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening. Coming up next is Zeal on Critical Thinking. Don't go anywhere. This is Lagos Talks 91.3. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Michelle.
Nice day.
Thank you for a good job. All right. Thank you. Bye.